So now came up with another topic as I was discussing with you the Indian economy part. Now here we are going to solve with the general economics paper 2. So here it is a paper of 2024. Okay. So as you can see that this is a question paper. So today I have picked up with you some questions and we'll practice that what you can write for the same and how to respond to any question you are being faced with at your IES examination. So here as you can see there are certain questions, this type of questions will be given and I hope that you all are aware about your syllabus. So let us pick some of the questions and discuss that how to answer the question. So here first question goes, distinguish between mercantilism and state socialism. What is it? Mercantilism means what? This basically, this mercantilism and state socialism are two very important economic ideology which reflect different time period goals and attitudes towards state control and individual economic freedom. Okay. Now mercantilism was the dominant economic thought in Europe from 16th to 18th century and it was based on the belief that national strength could be maximized by limiting imports and maximizing exports. So the goal was to accumulate precious metals like gold and silver, which were seen as the ultimate measure of nation's wealth. So government heavily intervened in the economy by imposing tariffs, granting monopoly. Trade was considered a zero-sum game. In game theory, we have done zero-sum game. If one country gain, another must lose. So basically, they have told me to do mercantilism and state socialism difference. So we have to classify each of them and then accordingly we can tell the difference. Now, in contrast, what the state socialism tells, it emerged in 18th and 19th, 20th century, particularly after the Industrial Revolution and during the rise of Marxist idea. It is based on the belief that the mean of production like land, factory and capital should be owned and controlled by the state, not individual or private enterprises. And the aim of state socialism is not to accumulate wealth but to ensure economic equality. Social, as the name states. Now what are the key differences? So the key differences which are being there, these are first historical context. Mercantilism is pre-industrial, socialism is industrial and post-industrial. What is the time period? Focus, mercantilism focuses on wealth accumulation, but socialism focuses on equitable wealth distribution. Ownership, mercantilism accepts private ownership under state guidance and socialism advocates state ownership. What is the role of state? Both involves the state control, but mercantilism supports the merchant class. Thus, mercantilism promotes national wealth through controlled capitalism, while state socialism seeks social justice through collective ownership. Like this, we have to answer every question. Let us do again another. Explain the concept of real GDP and nominal GDP. We know the inflation part, which is a better indicator to measure economic performance of a country. How I will answer? So there are different ways we can answer. First, what is GDP? Like since childhood, what we do first, we define the broad based and then we go to subject specific. So what is GDP? Gross domestic product is the total value of all possible goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific period. It is one of the most commonly used indicator to gauge the economic growth. Now there are two main ways to express this, nominal GDP and real GDP. What are they? Nominal GDP is measured using current market price. So that basically it includes change in price due to inflation or deflation. And for example, if the price level increases due to inflation or there is something like that, the nominal GDP will also increase thereby, even if the actual quantity of goods and services produced remain the same. But on the other hand, what real GDP means? It adjusts for inflation and then tells us. So it is measured using constant price from a base year and this allows for more accurate comparison over time. Like real GDP increases, it means it has an actual increase. So which is a better indicator? Real GDP is considered a much better indicator because it reflects the actual economic output which being distorted by change in price level. So it compare economic growth across years accurately, it assesses whether the economy is expanding and it make better policy. Okay. In contrast, nominal GDP is just for comparing economic at a point in time but not across time due to this. Like if India's nominal GDP roses by 10%, but inflation was 6%, so the real GDP growth is only about 4%, 6 and 10. Okay. coming to the next question, the origin of Keynesian revolution, and that can be found in the problem. So how to answer this thing? Okay, let's see. So here what we are having, Keynesian revolution was a radical transformation. Okay, so here in economic thought, which is led by the British economics John Maynard Keynes. Keynes we have talked about, so that Keynes, and it's primarily to Great Depression, because we know that time there was a problem what we see. So the Keynes came and the aggregate demand concept, but the British economist in economic thoughts, so which is led by British economist and John Maynard Keynes, primarily as a response to the Great Depression of 1930, a period of massive unemployment, low economic activity. Now, before Keynes, classical economists believed that the economy was self-correcting. So they argue that it is very clear through price and wage flexibility and unemployment would be temporary. According to the classical view, says law, we know supply created its own demand. So guaranteed full employment in the long run. However, during the Great Depression, what happened? Unemployment in countries like USA, UK reached over 20% and economic output plummeted. So despite falling wages and price, there was no recovery. So Keynes identified that the roots of the problem was inadequate aggregate demand, that he understood. Businesses were not investing and consumers were not spending. Obviously, income effect, substitution effect we have done. So without demand, production halted and jobs were lost. And in 1936 book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, Keynes argued that the economy can be in equilibrium even at high unemployment. Aggregate demand determines overall economic activity. This begins the marking of modern man. It's like this you can answer. Like state and explain the trade creation and trade diversion effect of custom union. You are having some marks. I will answer that we will know now. So here what do we know by custom union? I have to trade, because then what is trade creation and trade diversion? Custom union is a type of trade agreement. We can understand a question from international trade between countries. So it eliminates all tariff and other trade barrier and adopt a common external tariff. So while custom union aims to enhance trade, obviously that's why such a step taken, their effects can be both positive and negative. That is trade creation and trade diversion. When higher domestic production is replaced by lower cost input, that means trade you are creating. While greater efficiency, cheaper goods increase competition. But suppose India produces a car and Malaysia can produce it at this. So earlier due to tariff, India did not import, but now you can do. So it's trade creation, but trade diversion that occurs when a country shift import from a low cost to a higher cost. So then inefficient trade pattern, potential loss of consumer welfare and protection of less efficient producers. So before like this, before joining a custom union, India imported like this. You can give an example. So trade creation basically enhances welfare and trade diversion reduces it. Now explain how current account in BOP is different from capital account. Very easy. What is BOP? BOP is a comprehensive record of all economic transaction between a country and the rest of the world. That is two main components, current account and capital account. Current account means goods, service, income, transfer, all those things are there and imply the countries and let lender to the rest of world, a deficit. But on the other hand, capital means recording of this is non-reduced, non-financial assets like debt for forgiveness and transfer. In modern usage, the financial account is more significant, FDI, portfolio investment. So what are the key differences? The current account and the capital account. It records goods, service, it records capital transfer, it reflects income and expenditure, it reflects capital investment, and it is short term and it is medium to long term. So current account means flow of goods and service, and capital means flow of capital and investment. Like this you can continue. For today, the last question which I have picked it up, what is a derivative market? The stock and everything there you have, and you have to explain the merits and demerits of derivative market. So the derivative market is a financial market where derivatives are traded. A derivative is a financial instrument whose value is derived from an underlying assets like stock, commodity, currency. So common derivatives include future, options, swaps, are there, contracts to buy or sell, give the right to buy, right, exchange, cash flow. There are certain merits also, there are certain demerits also. So we will be practicing like this and also from different papers so that we can gauge an idea. Like this we have to answer basically to the point and also mentioning all the point. So the more you practice, you will be able to, and further we will practice with the other chapter.